couple of years ago, I did a video for you guys called something like how to lower your cholesterol, and I recommended a particular book that I was reading on how to do that. And I have a huge update that I need to tell you guys about because I have learned so much in the past week or so about cholesterol that I never knew before, and I want to share that with you guys because I think it's going to be interesting if you're looking to lower your cholesterol, and you'll find out why I put air quotes right there. First of all, hi to all the new dads out there. This is Dad Reviews. This is where I give you my unedited, hopefully more authentic look at the products that I like, use, and have, and well, information that I'm finding. So if you're interested in that, you might want to consider clicking that subscribe button. So in a previous video, I mentioned this book for lowering cholesterol. It's called Inner Cleansing, and I'd have to say that I do not recommend this book anymore because of all of the new stuff that I have learned about cholesterol. And I want to share with you guys my cholesterol numbers from my last one, which was the one from the 2 years ago. I haven't had my blood checked recently. But my total cholesterol was 245, my triglycerides were 46, my HDL was 48, my LDL was 191, and my VLDL was 9.2, and my total cholesterol to HDL ratio is 5.1. So I went out and I started learning more about cholesterol, and I found this book right here called Cholesterol Clarity: What the HDL is Wrong with My Numbers. This book has been the most eye-opening book that I have read in a long time whenever it comes to health. If you have high cholesterol, just get knowledgeable about it first. And I'm going to link this book up down in the description below. Y'all can go read other people's reviews about it, not just take my word for it. But this book is packed with so much information that it's just going to open your eyes. So one thing that the book recommends is that, well, first of all, you have to understand cholesterol. You have to learn a little bit more because you see the word LDL and people think, oh, that's the bad cholesterol, and HDL, oh, that's the good cholesterol. Let me expound on that a little bit. LDL is not necessarily a bad cholesterol. It can have bad aspects to it, and if those bad aspects are greater than the good aspects, then it's something to worry about, but you need to have that checked, which they don't do on these particular exams. So I can see this LDL number of 191, and I know that is probably, it's not the best it could be, but I don't need to worry about that number. And this is the reason why. LDL is broken down into two groups: pattern A LDL and pattern B LDL. And pattern A LDL is the good LDL. That is a big fluffy ball of LDL that can kind of float through your bloodstream and get to where it needs to go, because cholesterol is actually good for you. If you didn't have cholesterol in your body, if you made your cholesterol zero, you would die. Straight up, you would die. Your body needs cholesterol. And so you just want to have good HDL and LDL cholesterols, and you want to get rid of the bad LDL cholesterol, the bad pattern B LDL cholesterol. So pattern B cholesterol, in fact, just to tell you guys, if you guys don't know, what does HDL and LDL do? LDL takes cholesterol in your liver, and it works kind of like an ambulance. And it's finding, there's an inflammation or something in your arteries or whatever. And so it's traveling over to that, and it's going to deposit the LDL, the cholesterol there so that it can fix that. And then HDL is going to swing on back by, and it's going to pick up that LDL, and it's going to bring it back to the liver so that it can reuse it or recycle it or get rid of it. So there's a whole system right there. It's almost like a feedback loop of what's going on right there, but just between your HDL and your LDL. Now, the good LDL, the pattern A LDL. Now, whenever it comes to the pattern B LDL, by the way, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you, this is just information purposes only. Talk to your other doctor, not medical. I am not a doctor. Don't do anything dumb. So the pattern B LDL is a dense LDL. It's not as round and fluffy and floaty as it is in the artery as the pattern A. So pattern B LDL are your bad ones, and you want to try and diminish these as much as you can. So pattern B, since they're dense, they're gonna go down. They're not gonna be able to float. And so whenever they're traveling along your artery and they're headed to that inflammation spot, say there's like a nick in the artery or something like that. Nick, this is the nick. The LDL is gonna come up to it and it wants to deliver cholesterol, but it gets stuck underneath there, and so things start to cauterize, or what do they call it? Calcium deposits and all. It starts to create this wound, if you will, like you scab up whenever you hurt yourself. It's doing that on the inside, but the problem is that it's just gonna keep building up, and that is what can cause the calcium deposits and all that mess that leads to a cardiovascular disease or death or anything like that. So what you need to do is figure out, how can I get more of the big fluffy LDLs and less of the dense LDLs? Hopefully I'm doing a good job of explaining this. That's what this book does really, really well. And one way that you can kind of get an idea for what type you have is by looking at your triglycerides to your HDL ratio. You want your triglycerides to be low, and your HDL, which is high density lipoprotein, you want that to be high. The way you can remember that is the number that you want high is your high HDL. High HDL, high lipoprotein. The triglycerides you want to be low. Triglycerides low, HDL high. And so once you have a good ratio there, that lets you know if your HDL is high and your triglycerides are low. That lets you know that you have more of the pattern A balls as our lipoprotein, as opposed to if you have high triglycerides and your cholesterol is your HDL is low, then you have more of the pattern B of those low density ones. There is a test that you can do to find out exactly how much LDL you have and how much of it is pattern A and pattern B. It's an advanced lipoprotein test. It's in the back here. I think it's in the back. No, it's not. There's a chapter in here that tells you all the different tests that you can take whenever you want to have your cholesterol checked. There's also a lot of other markers, different tests you can take to have a better picture of what your what your cholesterol looks like overall. There's different C-reaction protein, C-reaction protein, ACL1 might be one of them, APO. I never can remember all the terminology there. If I could find it, I would find it for you guys, but I don't know exactly where it is in the book. But that was just a really, really interesting. Now, what's also interesting in this book, and a good way to kind of test yourself to see if you can read your cholesterol readings better, is this guy. Whenever he wrote the book, he had a bunch of people writing in. And they were saying, hey, look at my cholesterol numbers and tell me what you think about them. So there's literally 30 examples of them in here. And then at the end of those 30 examples, he gives you a score of either it's a healthy marker, the person needs some work, or they have poor cholesterol markers. So very, very interesting to take this test once you read the book. At first, whenever I went through the first couple of them, I was getting them wrong. I was like, man, okay, I'm not looking at something right. But then I started, as I went through the test, I noticed, oh, okay, I get it. So it actually really, really worked well. Oh, look, this is the test that you can take. So this is the standard lipid profile, which is what most people do. This is an advanced lipid profile where you get to test the LDL numbers, the LDL-P, which is the pattern. What kind of pattern do you have? Pattern A or pattern B? And then it tells you the small LDL particles and the lipoprotein A, which is a genetic marker with no standard methodology for measuring. The ranges will vary. I haven't really understood that aspect of it a little bit better. There's some other tests that they can say you can consider is the apolipoprotein B, apolipoprotein E, which is a genotype only. It's a one-time test, so it lets you know if your cholesterol is familial. This is that C-reactive protein I was telling you about, and they give you the range it should be in. They'd also recommend some blood sugar testing as well. Then there's also some heart scans, and the heart scan, CT heart scan, or ultrasound heart scan that you can do on your carotid artery right there. I actually had that done too. That's another update for my cholesterol, is that I read you guys my numbers earlier in this video. If you need to rewind them to go and listen to them. But I went, my wife, through her insurance, they had a stroke scan thing that you could go to if you were covered under the insurance. And basically they take an ultrasound machine and they take a look at your arteries right here and your thyroid. And they also did my abdominal as well, taking a look at everything there. And they let you know if they see any type of, bumps, lesions, benign nodules or anything like that. But they also look for calcium deposits in your arteries to make sure that you have no buildup that could possibly lead to a stroke. And mine came back completely clear. They had their doctors take a look at it, and I have no issues. So with 245 and 191 of these cholesterol numbers, whenever you're looking at total cholesterol and LDL, it really tells you nothing. There's nothing that you can really gain from that knowledge. You need more information. So you look at your HDL and your triglycerides, and mine is almost 1-to-1. They're like 2 points from each other. So what I want to try and do is raise my HDL and lower my triglycerides. And one way that I'm learning to do that, which was all covered in this book, is to eat more saturated fat. It seems silly because you've been told, you gotta lower your cholesterol, make sure to eat a low-fat, high-carb diet. Well, how many people have been trying that forever and then they get put onto a statin? Are you on a statin? I wanna know that from you guys. Are y'all on a statin right now? I read this book right here, the one that I originally mentioned to you guys. I want to read this part to you. It's talking about niacin, and it's talking about ways to lower your LDL. It says niacin, also known as vitamin B, does more than lower your cholesterol. It washes away the dangerous sludge right out of your body. Dangerous sludge. It lowers both total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol levels. The cleanser dispatches oxygen to your billions of body cells, which then works to free them from accumulated deposits. So it lowers both your cholesterol and your LDL cholesterol. What we found out, though, if y'all were listening, is that you actually want some LDL cholesterol. Now, if you have particle B cholesterol, you do want to get rid of those, but you do that by raising those HDL cholesterol so that they can go in and clean up what's wrong. So, they don't mention anything about pattern A and pattern B. They don't mention how there's a feedback loop between your HDL and your LDL, and how they work in tandem with each other. The problem with cholesterol is that it's not a cholesterol problem. What happened is that this LDL, like I said, we get trapped in the artery, and then the HDL needs to go and clean it up. But the problem is that you have to get rid of what's causing your cholesterol to want to go out there to begin with, to be able to fight whatever you're fighting. And it's things like inflammation in the body. And a lot of inflammation, I'm learning, is coming from carbs, lots of carbs, omega-6 fatty acids. Some of it's probably good, but there needs to be a ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s. Right now, since there's all the use of all these oils and trans fats and fried food and all that stuff, it's tons of omega-6 fatty acids. It's too much, and your ratios are off. They say the average ratio right now is something like 40 omega-6s to 1 omega-3, whenever they should be more like 1-to-1. So hopefully I've shed some light for you guys. I'm gonna link up this book down in the description below if you guys want to go and check it out. I highly recommend this book just for the knowledge, a different take on what's actually going on. There's actually another book that I'm reading, that I'm gonna start reading actually soon, called I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it down. Oh, it's called Wheat Belly. That's what it's called. And it's written by a cardiologist who goes along with this whole notion that saturated fat is actually good for you. So I've actually been eating this Kerrygold butter right here. It's a grass-fed butter. It's got a lot of extra vitamins and nutrients because it's grass-fed, and just better quality butter for you there to get those extra bits of saturated fat. Also, one thing that I learned too is that your brain is mostly fat. And if you're not giving your brain fat, your brain it gives you brain fog and it makes you forget things. So you want to try and get some good fats up into your brain. Another way to get good fats that I've learned is coconut oil as well. You may want to try cooking with some coconut oil. But if you guys want to see some of the other ways that I'm trying to work with my cholesterol, change my diet, I'm going to put a playlist of videos right here that you guys can go and check out. If you want to go and click those videos right there, I'll see y'all in those videos. Thank you, dads, for watching. That thumbs up is always appreciated. I'd love to know your cholesterol numbers if you'd love to share them down in the comments below. Maybe we can kind of come together as a community of dads and figure out how we can make this cholesterol numbers seem more easier to read now that we have all this new information. All right, click those videos right there. I'll see you on those videos. Thank you, dads, for watching. That thumbs up is appreciated, and dad out.